The year is 1917. Europe is engulfed in a brutal conflict. World War I has been raging for 3 long years. Millions have perished in the trenches. Hope for a swift end is fading. 1917 will be a turning point in this global conflict. The great powers are locked in a stalemate. On the Western Front, Germany battles France and Britain. Trench warfare dominates, leading to horrific casualties. New technologies like poison gas and machine guns increase the carnage. The Eastern Front sees more fluid fighting. Germany and Austria-Hungary are pitted against Russia. Russia, though vast, is poorly equipped for modern warfare. The Tsar's government faces growing unrest at home. The Ottoman Empire, allied with Germany, controls vital sea lanes. These lanes connect the Mediterranean Sea to the Indian Ocean. The British Empire relies on these routes for trade and communication with India. Control of these waterways will be crucial in 1917. In June 1917, Russia launches the Kerensky Offensive, a bold and desperate attempt to turn the tide of the war. This desperate gamble aims to break the stalemate in the east, where the front lines have been stagnant for months. It is named after Alexander Kerensky, the leader of Russia's struggling provisional government, who hopes to rally the nation with a decisive victory. The offensive initially shows promise, with Russian forces making some advances. However, German counterattacks soon turn the tide, exploiting weaknesses in the Russian lines. The Russian army, demoralized and poorly led, begins to disintegrate under the pressure. Soldiers, exhausted and disillusioned, lose their will to fight. Soldiers desert in droves, longing for peace and an end to the Tsar's autocratic rule. The morale of the troops hits rock bottom as they abandon their posts. The Kerensky offensive collapses, dealing a fatal blow to Russian morale and further destabilizing the already fragile provisional government. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, a different kind of warfare unfolds, characterized by guerrilla tactics and strategic raids. T.E. Lawrence, a British officer, leads Arab forces against the Ottoman Empire, employing unconventional strategies to great effect. Lawrence, known as Lawrence of Arabia, proves a brilliant and enigmatic leader, inspiring his troops with his vision and daring. In July 1917, Lawrence's forces captured the strategic port of Aqaba in Jordan, a stunning victory achieved through a daring desert march. This victory secures a vital supply line for the British in the Middle East, ensuring the flow of resources needed for continued operations. It also deals a significant blow to Ottoman forces in the region, weakening their hold and boosting Allied morale. Across the Atlantic, the United States watches the war with growing concern. Germany's unrestricted submarine warfare campaign angers the American public. German U-boats target civilian ships, including those carrying American citizens. In February 1917, the U.S. intercepts the Zimmermann telegram. This secret message from Germany to Mexico proposes a military alliance. Germany promises Mexico lost territories in the U.S. if they join the war. The Zimmermann telegram, along with continued submarine attacks, pushes the U.S. to the brink. On April 6, 1917, President Woodrow Wilson asks Congress for a declaration of war against Germany. The U.S. officially enters World War I on the side of the Allies. America's entry into the war has a profound impact. The U.S., though initially unprepared for war, possesses vast industrial might and manpower. American troops and supplies will prove crucial in tipping the balance of power in favor of the Allies. Back in Russia, the war exacerbates existing social and political tensions. The Tsar's government, seen as incompetent and out of touch, loses the support of the people. Food shortages and economic hardship fuel discontent. In February 1917, riots erupt in Petrograd, the capital of Russia. Workers strike, demanding bread and an end to the war. The Tsar, Nicholas II, orders the army to quell the unrest, but the soldiers refuse to fire on the crowds. The February Revolution, as it becomes known, forces Tsar Nicholas II to abdicate. Russia is declared a republic and a provisional government takes power. The provisional government, however, is weak and divided. It faces the daunting task of restoring order while continuing the war effort. The February Revolution marks the end of the Romanov dynasty, which had ruled Russia for centuries. It also creates a power vacuum that will have far-reaching consequences for Russia and the world. As 1917 progresses, the situation in Russia deteriorates further and further. The provisional government proves unable to address the country's numerous problems. The war drags on, draining resources and morale significantly. Into this chaotic situation steps Vladimir Lenin, leader of the Bolshevik Party. The Bolsheviks, a radical socialist faction, promise peace, land and bread to the war-weary Russian people. Lenin, exiled for many years, returns to Russia with German help. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks launch a coup d'état in Petrograd. They seize key government buildings and overthrow the provisional government. The October Revolution, as it becomes known, brings the Bolsheviks to power. The Bolsheviks, led by Lenin, establish the world's first communist state. They sign a peace treaty with Germany, ending Russia's involvement in World War I. The Russian Civil War, however, soon erupts, pitting the Bolsheviks against their numerous opponents. Section 6. Blood in the Streets. While revolution and war consume Europe, racial tensions boil over in the United States. The early 20th century is a period of significant social upheaval, with racial and economic tensions simmering just beneath the surface. In East St. Louis, Illinois, a wave of racial violence explodes in July 1917. This eruption of violence is not an isolated incident but part of a broader pattern of racial strife across the country. The East St. Louis massacre becomes a horrific example of racial hatred and brutality. The scale and ferocity of the violence shock the nation and leave a lasting scar on the community. The massacre is rooted in economic and social tensions. As the industrial economy grows, competition for jobs intensifies, exacerbating existing racial animosities. An influx of black workers from the South into East St. Louis heightens racial animosity. These workers are seeking better opportunities, but their arrival is met with hostility from the established white workforce. White workers resent the competition, and rumors of black men attacking white women stoke the flames of hatred. These unfounded rumors serve as a pretext for violence, further inflaming the already volatile situation. On July 2, 1917, a mob of white rioters attacks black residents of East St. Louis. The violence is brutal and indiscriminate, targeting men, women, and children alike. The violence lasts for days, leaving dozens of black men, women, and children dead. Homes and businesses are destroyed and the community is left in ruins. The massacre exposes the deep racial divisions that plague American society. It highlights the systemic racism and economic disparities that continue to fuel conflict and violence. The East St. Louis massacre shocks the nation and draws condemnation from President Wilson. The national outcry forces the country to confront the harsh realities of racial injustice. It serves as a stark reminder of the racial injustice that continues to plague the United States. The massacre is a tragic chapter in American history, underscoring the urgent need for social and economic reforms to address the root causes of racial violence. Section 7. A Promise in Palestine. Amidst the horrors of war, a glimmer of hope emerges for the Jewish people. The early 20th century was a time of great turmoil, but also of great aspirations for many Jewish families who dreamed of a homeland where they could live in peace and security. In November 1917, the British government issues the Balfour Declaration. This pivotal moment in history marks the beginning of a new chapter for the Jewish people. This document expresses support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. It is a formal statement that acknowledges the Jewish connection to the land and their right to return. The Balfour Declaration is a landmark document in Zionist history. It ignites a sense of hope and determination among Jewish communities worldwide, fueling their efforts to establish a homeland. Zionism, a movement advocating for a Jewish state in Palestine, gains momentum in the late 19th century. Theodor Herzl, often considered the father of modern Zionism, and other leaders worked tirelessly to promote this cause. The declaration gives international legitimacy to Zionist aspirations. It is a significant endorsement from a major world power, which bolsters the movement's credibility on the global stage. The Balfour Declaration, however, is also controversial. It sparks debates and protests as it promises a homeland to the Jewish people while overlooking the existing Arab population in Palestine. It raises hopes for a Jewish homeland while ignoring the rights of the Palestinian Arabs who already live there. This oversight leads to tensions and conflicts that will resonate for generations. The declaration's legacy will be debated for decades to come. It is a document that symbolizes both hope and controversy, shaping the political landscape of the region. Despite the controversy, the Balfour Declaration represents a significant moment in the history of the Middle East. It is a turning point that influences the future of the region in profound ways. It paves the way for the eventual establishment of the State of Israel, but also sets the stage for future conflict. the declaration's impact is felt to this day, as the quest for peace and stability in the region continues. Section 8, A Year of Upheaval. Section 9, The Legacy of 1917.